Your business is engineered for success. So when it comes to your social performance, why should it be any different? What if there was a way to open a new direct channel of communication between your business and the whole community? Voconic uses cutting-edge engagement science methods and data science techniques to understand the voices that matter in real time. Voconic, turning complex science-backed data into simple people-based solutions.
Hello, my name is Karen James, and I'm the CEO of Business for Development. And it is my great pleasure to be part of the conversation today here at IMARC. Our topic speaks to community conservation, how protecting the environment means business for the community. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we are all connecting from and pay my respects to their elders, past and present. So today we welcome Dr. Georgina Jones. Welcome, Georgina. Thank you for joining me today. Dr. Georgina Jones has been involved in projects in Africa since 1994 and has spent the last 15 years developing and implementing best practice environmental and social systems for the extractives and energy industries. Most recently, Georgina has focused on developing teams to manage the environmental function of mining operations for base resource operations in Madagascar and Kenya. So we've come together to discuss the conservation of natural resources with community and poverty reduction, how together they constitute two essential objectives for putting in place sustainable approach to development. Not an easy task. Many people have studied this, from the world's best scholars to the International Union of Conservation and Nature, the IUCN. It's hard work. It comes with a lot of very necessary research and understanding of all the levers and behaviors in the system that make the difference. But we're going to talk specifically today about what happens on the ground. So given it's 2020, it's been a tricky year. We thought we'd start with something nice, something that most people love. We thought we'd start with a story of butterflies, because like us, every single butterfly is uniquely beautiful. And they present new beginnings and give us hope for what the future has to bring. So I love the concept of butterflies. The global butterflies are viewed as symbols of rebirth, representing change, hope, endurance, and life. And I don't know anybody who likes butterflies more than Georgina. So Georgina, do you want to give us a story about butterflies and how, you've been able to have them be an intersection for conservation and community development and business?
Thank you, Karen, and I'm really honored to be taking part in this conversation with you. And I think it's a really good opportunity to be able to share some of the successes we've seen and some of the successes we know about, where people have been able to successfully manage conservation projects with the community seeing real and tangible benefits from them. As we sit in a world with increasing pressure demands on the environment, and increasing poverty levels, these become more and more critical, that we see communities really benefiting from conservation and supporting conservation initiatives. About butterflies, back to them. And as an entomologist, they're obviously very close to my heart. So is one of the programs I often look to see how I can bring those back into the work we do. And at BASE, we've been very privileged to be able to work with our communities and actually implement some really cool projects that have seen really good benefits for the communities. What many of the people listening in on this conversation today may not realize, or have never given much thought to, is that the butterflies they have seen in the butterfly houses or flying houses around the world, where do they come from? Many of these come from communities in the tropic, very much like the Fioni community who live near our mining operation in Kenya. Building on a successful community project we had with the Gongoni Forest Users Association, who have been propagating and selling indigenous trees to both BASE and other organizations such as WWF to use in our planting programs, we've been able to get other community programs that have been reliant on forest resources to achieve some benefit to the community as well as conservation. Community members have been trained by BASE's environmental programs team. And in the case of the Gongoni Forest Association, they learned to identify indigenous trees, source and select seed, and then grow them, all done through our nursery at Kwale in Kenya. And they now operate their own very successful nursery and are realizing profits from their efforts. And this gave us the inspiration to look at it further and see how we could take this and actually integrate other aspects of conservation into it. And this is our butterfly project started. So we piloted a community butterfly project with the Fione Community Forest Association, which was another community organization living alongside both the mining project and the forest, and to make use of the resources found in these forests. We got training them and working together with the African Butterfly Research Institute based in Nairobi. We managed to start producing butterflies for them, which we have been selling to the international flying houses in Europe and America. So from a small community sitting in southern Kenya, we now see the butterflies growing and being displayed with it in Europe. These butterfly flying houses often stock many different species of butterflies, which come from stocks from Africa, Malaysia, South America, Thailand, Philippines, and other countries in the tropics. With many of the butterfly species only living 1 to 2 weeks, a constant supply is required. And this is where the communities can see the benefits by being able to supply these butterflies to these flying houses. The good thing to note is that most of these butterfly houses are acting in a responsible and sustainable manner and ensure that none of the butterflies they have in their exhibitions are taken from the wild. Rather, as is in the case we have in Fione and Kenya, the suppliers source their stock from farms, which many of them across the globe operated by communities. These communities breed and rear butterflies and then sell the pupae to the suppliers, who then in turn provide them to the butterfly flying houses. So these projects, we see a real example of how they can offer a sustainable livelihood for the communities while still contributing to conservation, because many of the communities that rear these butterflies actually release ones back into the wild. Why are butterflies important? You know, and a lot of people ask that, but you know, we enjoy seeing them, but butterflies are actually highly sensitive and are very good indicators of environmental health.
Do you think that when you create these livelihood programs by using a natural resource such as butterflies, that it has a knock-on effect to the other natural resources? So for example, does the butterfly program somehow help with the conservation of the forest as well? Does it have that kind of knock-on effect?
Absolutely, Karen. What we see is that with the community being able to see economic benefit from these projects, they realize the value that the forests can give them. Yeah. And as a consequence are actually actively involved in protecting those forests. And more so than that is even how they are encouraging communities, their own community members, and particularly the children, to understand the old traditional ways of the forest and will the value these place to people. So I think often more important than the immediate benefits we're seeing is the benefit of the children learning and beginning to appreciate once again the value the forests and the resources that can be got from them can give to society.
The families that are involved in the butterfly project, that has then created a livelihood program for them that is sustaining. Is that where they're at now with it? Has it reached the point of sustainability?
I think at this point we're still giving them additional training, and obviously with it only having been piloted in late 2019, and then the onset of the travel restrictions and flight restrictions with COVID, it took a bit of a back approach to it, but the community have continued to be, because they did see some profit from it initially, they've
Yes.
continued to be inspired by it and
Yeah.
actually work on their flying house to get it, improve it, find better ways to get results from it. So I think they're going to come out of this stronger and more positive. And it's really encouraging to see that they haven't lost motivation,
Yeah, that's
and
great.
have understood that this challenge is not a challenge to their project, but very much affecting them in many other ways in their lives.
Fantastic. So that probably leads us to the other really interesting program you were sharing with us when we were preparing for IMARC, regarding, you know, the challenges facing our oceans and the importance of balancing, you know, the conservation of our oceans, but also being able to once again have a livelihood program where you know, developing aquaculture or aqua fisheries for the communities. Do you want to share some of your experiences around that?
Sure, Karen. I think the experience I'm going to share with you, which is one that I've come to look at more deeply in the last year or two since BASE has moved into Madagascar, is a project started by a small UK Madagascar NGO called Reef Doctor that has been operating in Renobe Bay in the southwest of Madagascar. This is an area not far from our operations and project in Madagascar. So it's been very interesting to look at this and see the successes they've had and what opportunities this will provide for us, and how it talks very much to our ethos and our belief around community conservation, and give us real inspiration that we'll be able to make a really good difference to communities in Madagascar. What we're seeing in the southwest of Madagascar is huge poverty. This has been exacerbated by very bad droughts that have been experienced in the last 5 years, which has resulted in very poor crop returns and returns from those, and consequently a lot of migration from the interior, which is the traditional agricultural areas, down to the coast, which has placed huge pressure on the fisheries. If you look at the CPUE, or the catch per unit effort, which is effectively the amount of fish caught on average per day per fisher, it currently stands at less than 1 kilogram per day per fisher. Now, this is down from 5 kilograms per day in 1991 and around 50 kilograms per day per fisher in 1959. So that's a huge decrease in it. And obviously, it's having massive implications. What Reef Doctor did was in the early 2000s, when they were working in and started their projects in Madagascar, together with the local community and the authorities, they established a marine protected area in Renobe Bay. And they helped the fishers from the villages in the bay create a local fisheries management group called Femihara. Now, this has been hugely successful, and working together, they created additional marine protected areas and piloted 2 artificial reef projects to help booster the fisheries. Now, with such dismal fish stocks, just protecting the reefs and in trying to encourage the fishers to fish in other parts of the bay was not going to be enough to sustain their livelihoods. And this meant that Reef Doctor had to look at other opportunities to supplement the fishers' livelihoods, and have had some very good success with implementing aquaculture projects. So they've looked at farming seaweed as well as farming sea cucumbers, and have some established markets for these products now. This has allowed fishers to spend less effort, still get income from the sea, and actually allow the marine areas to be protected. And we're actually thinking that there is a difference, because the data that Reef Doctors collected shows that the daily amount has increased that they're getting from and realizing has increased by 30 US cents a day, which in a community as impoverished as we see in that area, of Renobi and where the resources on which these people have traditionally depended is being depleted, it is actually a very significant contribution. So, at our operations, we've been in Kenya, we've been working together with B4D, as you're aware, and we've developed some very successful livelihood programs which have structured and secure markets. And these, we believe, are key to ensuring the sustainability of any livelihood program and, in turn, any conservation program.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. It's so important that those two go hand in hand. And as Georgina mentioned, Business for Development's been working with BASE in Kenya for many years now. And one of the programs that we've co-developed that we love so much is the one where we have the symbiotic relationship between cotton and poultry, where the waste from the cotton harvest is used in the feed for the poultry programs, which enables the whole environment to be a bit circular in that we're not wasting any of the crop. And that's proven very successful. I think one of my favorite metrics from the team we have based in Kenya is it takes 5 chickens to change a family's life. And when that number's reached, that's when you get to the point where the livelihood program really starts to pay back and families can start to exit poverty. And Georgina, I thank you greatly. Everyone at IMARC, thank you for joining us. I hope to see you soon in Africa, Georgina, and stay safe, stay well, and thank you for the opportunity, IMARC, for letting us share our stories around how when we bring community and conservation together in a fair and equitable way, hopefully we can build sustainable economic models that support the environment and people's livelihoods.
Your business is engineered for success. So when it comes to your social performance, why should it be any different? What if there was a way to open a new direct channel of communication between your business and the whole community? Voconic uses cutting-edge engagement science methods and data science techniques to understand the voices that matter in real time. Voconic, turning complex science-backed data into simple people-based solutions.